Hello and welcome. This is Lino Tadros from Falafel Software. It's my pleasure to present to you this video regarding assembly binding in Sitefinity 4. And this has to do with all the different assemblies and DLLs that are available for you, whether they are free or for a fee on the marketplace or others, where you can actually get these assemblies with modules and widgets that are great. But as soon as you install them and they work great with Sitefinity 4, once Sitefinity releases a new patch like Service Pack 2 or 3 or 4 or so on, these DLLs most probably will stop working. And I see a lot of people on the forum and also on the marketplace always asking for the developers of these DLLs to release the new version of their module or their controls and widgets so that people can continue to use. What I would like to show you with this specific video is that you don't really need to wait for the developer of these controls and modules to release the new control compiled against the new service pack. You can actually make these changes by yourself inside of your application to make this work with your current infrastructure and DLLs that come from Sitefinity. So let's go ahead and get started. I actually, right now, you can see I'm running my Sitefinity Project Manager 4.1.150. This is Service Pack 2 DLLs for 4.1. Okay, so this is not the latest, of course, but let's say I'm going to go ahead and create my web application. I called mine Test Assembly, and I'm going to go ahead and administer this web application. So we'll go ahead and click on that. My default browser here is Chrome, and it will automatically open up Test Assembly, which is the name of my web application, into Sitefinity. I'm going to log in with my username and password. I have only one very simple page in here, and I'm using a control that I've written in Visual Studio with like only 2 lines of code just to show you the problem that a lot of people are getting so far. So while we're waiting for this guy to load, I'm going to open this up in Visual Studio. There it is in here, and there is my Sitefinity web application all the way at the top here. That is the code for the application itself for Sitefinity. Alrighty, but I also created another DLL. It's a class library, and I call it Test Widget. And inside of this test widget, I only inherited from Simple View. And to inherit from Simple View, folks, to creating a widget, you have to use the telerik.sitefinity.web.ui. That means that you have to have gone to the references and use the telerik.sitefinity. If I click on the telerik.sitefinity, you will notice in Visual Studio is telling you that is version 4.1.1501. So it's using Service Pack 2. Automatically, that makes your DLL or the assembly that you're compiling committing to version 4.1.150 for that specific DLL. Alrighty, so I'm actually having to override the toAbstract method, which is initialize controls, which as you can see I'm not doing anything in there. And the layout template, I'm going to use my own ASCX control called Test Widgets My Web Control. Where is that guy? It's an ASCX control that I have in here. As you can see, it's very complex. I only have a label in here that says hello from Falafel. So it doesn't really do much at all. That's not the idea behind this specific video. I just wanted to show you that if you compile this test widget to create a DLL and then go into your web application for Sitefinity and reference this DLL, as you can see here at the bottom, you will see the test widget is being referenced in here. And so both of them are definitely using the Sitefinity, Telerik Sitefinity version 4.1.150. Alrighty, let's go back to our Chrome in here, and I'm going to log into this application. Wait for a second for loading, and we're in. So there we go, and now I'm going to go to Pages. The Test Assembly web application is running at this point. Once I go to Pages, you'll notice I only have one page called the home page, and I've actually dropped this control on it after I registered and all that. There is my home page. And there is my test widget in here, says hello from Falafel. So I've actually done this by going to the system for the administration for settings, and I went to Toolbox, created my own section here called Falafel Widgets, and I loaded my DLL by pointing to the control type for my test widget right there. So by dragging and dropping this control, it automatically displayed the code that I showed you in here, which is a label that has a text called hello from Falafel. Very simple, very easy to do. Alright, now I feel like the only thing left for us to do in here, folks, is to upgrade our website, hopefully, to the latest, which is Service Pack 3. At the time of making this video, Service Pack 3 is the latest that have been available. But this, what I'm showing in here, will work with whatever Service Pack will come in the future, and also even if you're trying this on previous version of Sitefinity from 4.0 to 4.1, Service Pack 1, 2, 3, whatever, this is exactly the same idea. This is a concept available in ASP.NET itself. So this is what I would like to show you in here. Let's go ahead and back to our pages. I don't need this page anymore. And now I'm going to go back to the Telerik website. I'm going to access my account in here really quickly. And I would like to download the latest one available in here. Let's go ahead, download and manage. And I'm going to go to the downloads for Sitefinity. And there is the latest, which is 4.1.1574. So let's go ahead and browse all product files. I don't really need to install the entire package. I just want the Sitefinity Manager for SP3. It's about 51 megabyte. I'm going to click on this guy. Let me stop the video here while this is being downloaded. All right, we are almost done here with the entire download of 50 megabyte for the Sitefinity project. I'm going to go ahead and open it up in the folder. One of the things I like to do is to always unblock the DLL so I don't get problems later on. And as you can see here, I have the Service Pack 2 Project Manager and the Service Pack 3. Now I would like to open up the zip file, and there is my Project Manager. I would like to take out the old Sitefinity.exe of Service Pack 2 and put this instead of it, so I don't have to change the project directory or anything like that. So we'll go ahead and say extract all files. We're going to find out where our download directory is all about. I believe it's going to be here, and we'll open it up at, let's cheat. Let's come in here and put it under SP2. There you go. We'll say extract that. Well, so we'll replace the Sitefinity 2. It's open right now. That's why I cannot change it. So let's go in here. That is my Sitefinity Project Manager. I'm going to exit from it so I can actually replace it. And we'll say replace, and there we go. All right, so now we have put actually the new Sitefinity.exe for Service Pack 3 in the same exact directory where the Service Pack 2 one was available. So it means that my projects in here will still be intact. All right, let's go ahead and start our new project manager. And notice here it says 4.1.1574. We are running Service Pack 3. But the test assembly in here, folks, is still pointing, of course, it's being built based on the Service Pack 2. That is not a problem. That's why this is great, because you can click on upgrade and automatically Sitefinity will change all the DLLs or all the other files needed in my entire test assembly project to make it a Service Pack 3. So let's click on this guy. We'll say yes, we agree on that. We'll continue the upgrade. And let's give it a few seconds and you'll see the status changing from 1% all the way to 100%. And my test assembly will end up being 1574. Great. Anybody would like to guess what happens when I go browse this website now? Let's go ahead and click on it. It will open up the test assembly homepage in my Chrome. And if I did this correctly, I should get a big error in here. So let's go ahead and give it a second in here to load this. And hopefully you'll understand why we're getting this big error. Even though the website is working correctly, the website is loading on the home page a widget called the My Test widget, for instance, that is being compiled with a different version of the Telerik.Sitefinity. I compiled mine with 1501, but right now my website is running on 1574. So that's what a lot of people are getting, and hopefully in a second here you'll see the problem right away. And voila. As you can see in here, even though the entire website for the test assembly web project in here is running version 4.1.1574, which is Service Pack 3, it's giving you an error in here on the home page telling you like there is something being loaded on this page that is requiring the old 1501, which I don't know anything about because I don't have a reference to this DLL at all. This DLL does not exist as far as it's concerned, because as you can see in here, if I refresh this page in Visual Studio, you will notice that the references for the Sitefinity web application for Telerik.Sitefinity, now that I've done the upgrade, is pointing to 4.1.1574, as you can see at the bottom in here. So we definitely have a problem. So we were lucky because we actually have the source code for test widget. So I can actually go back in here to test widget, yank the Telerik.Sitefinity from here and put in the new one from 1574. That's great. And you recompile and do the whole thing. But we are not always so lucky. A lot of times you're getting this DLL or this assembly from a third party where you don't have access to the source code. You cannot recompile anything. You just have to be able to reference the DLL, put it in the bin directory for your website, and that's it. So the two options that you have to do is to send an email to the developer, tell them, can you please tell me when you're going to actually update your DLL to Service Pack 3, and keep waiting till they do release it, and then you do that. Or your best bet is to go in here into your Sitefinity web app, go to the web.config file, and in this web.config file there is an ASP.NET feature which is called assembly binding. If you go all the way to the bottom, I like to put it all the way at the bottom in here, right before the closing of the configuration area, right there. Okay, so I'm going to actually create a configuration area in here, and we'll create a brand new assembly binding. This is called a runtime assembly binding right before the closing of the configuration. I'm going to paste in some code in here. I'm going to explain it in a second. This assembly binding, folks, I can tell it in here that every time Telerik.Sitefinity is being requested, if the DLL that is being requested is 411501, okay, which doesn't exist, I'm going to say I'm going to serve you with 411574. So don't error out. Even though you're looking for an older version of Telerik.Sitefinity, I'm going to actually serve you with the new one. And that should work because Telerik is not going to break old functionality. It's not like Telerik.Sitefinity has a function called foo in 5101 and in 1574 they yanked out that functionality. They will not do that. That will break the interfaces. What they will do, probably they will fix something in one of the functions or add new functionality, but they will not take something that's already existing. So your assembly that was built with 1501 should continue to work. If for whatever reason something in the control of the widget stopped working, there is something fishy going on with the Telerik.Sitefinity, that they have changed something seriously inside of there that will not make it work. So far we haven't seen something like this happening. Okay, I even did this on the Telerik Sitefinity model DLL, but I can actually delete this section in here. I don't need it. I just needed to put it in here in case I'm going to change the model for that other assembly as well. But in your case in here for this specific example, the only thing I need is the binding direct for this part in here. I can actually just keep this section saying every time Telerik Sitefinity is being requested for 1501. If you can't find it, please don't bail out on me. Serve the 1574 if you'd like. So let's say, for instance, next month they ship 411600, for instance. I can come in here and change this to 1600, and my DLLs that was compiled with 1501 will continue to work. Does that make sense? Okay, let's go ahead and save that, and I'm going to run the site again, and this time hopefully, because this web.config file in here, it will cause the entire site to be recompiled, and as you can see, it is not going to give us an error anymore, and our DLL that was actually compiled with the different DLLs that doesn't exist on the site at all will continue to work. We'll give it another second in here. Got another error. What did I do? Telerik.Sitefinity could not load file. Okay, maybe I did. Alright, let me close this guy. Let me make sure we go into Visual Studio. Stop this guy. And I made the change in here. That is correct. And let's go ahead and compile the project. And we'll run it again. Okay, so we're still having this problem with 1501. Let me show you a good way of actually debugging this. With Telerik comes the just decompile, which is like .NET Reflector. You can choose whichever you like to use. I'm going to open up my just decompile here from Telerik. And I'm interested to find out what does the resource say right inside of my web application. So I'm going to say open the assembly. There is my test assembly.bin directory. This is where my web application is for test assembly. Go all the way down in here, and there is my test widget.dll. If I open this guy up, I can actually dissect this entire DLL and do all reflection on the entire DLL for decompilation. So if I open it up, I will be able to see my DLL, and these are all the references inside of there. is telling me that it's using Telerik Sitefinity version 41150.0. That's the one definitely I'm expecting to see in there. That's not the latest Telerik Sitefinity. So I'm definitely going to need to tell my web.config file that this is the version we're coming from, and we'd like to route it to the new version, which is 411.574. Alrighty, we can close this one now. We want to make sure we don't see this guy anymore, hopefully. And I'm going to shut this guy down. We'll go here, and there is my assembly binding, telerik.sitefinity. Yes, if you find the 411.501, route me to the new version, which is 411.574. Just to make sure that I do have the right one in here, let's go to Telerik.sitefinity. It is 411.574. Okay, so this actually should work. Let me go ahead and shut down the this guy in case there is any caching going on. We'll exit this guy. I am going to recompile this entire thing. We'll say go all the way on the top here, build this guy, and it's successful. And now we can run the application again, and inside of the Visual Studio web server that comes with it. Alrighty. I'm still getting that error. Okay, that's not normal. Let me see if I forgot something in here. This is definitely the correct syntax. It should be in the oh, it's not. It's not in a runtime. Sorry. You have to remember, folks, this has to happen inside of a runtime section in here. So right before the end of the configuration, all that assembly binding has to be inside of a runtime tag here for the XML of the web.config file. So there you go. So if I have a runtime section, okay, right before the closing of the configuration, inside of the runtime section, I'll add all my assembly binding. Sorry about that, but I'm glad you get to see what kind of errors you're going to get if you forget the syntax in here like I did. Alrighty, let's go ahead and run this one more time. And now, although the DLL is 1501, by having a runtime in here, you'll see that it will load our control with no problem. Let's give it another second here to load the page. It's taking a while. That's good. That means it's compiling the whole site. The web.config file is correct now. And finally, if we see hello from Falafel inside of our control is working correctly without having to change anything in the DLL or assembly that we got from a third party. We handle all the stuff inside of our web.config file. Alrighty, I'm going to also go ahead and put these few lines of code in here inside of a blog so that you can copy and paste it. Just remember, every time you use a Telerik DLL that is being changed in a service pack, you are more than welcome to use this technique to tell the assembly binding to load the new one if it cannot find the old one, and so on. Thank you so much, and hopefully this was useful for everybody. Bye-bye.